And what an honor and a pleasure, a privilege as well. I'm very happy to be here today. I wanted to just say one little thing on piggybacking with Lisa. My son is 9, so your daughters are around the same age as my son. And, boys are so hard-headed, right? And so I let him, he has to play baseball almost every day. And on nights that he thinks he wants to stay up because he's in a year-round school, so he's still in school, I let his butt stay up. And that next day, when he's dragging and he's in school and his head is bobbing, and then he has to get out on the baseball field, and the coach is like, you can't loaf around, that triggers him to say, no, I'm going to bed, right? So, Jesus wasn't a prophet in his own hometown, they say, right? So I just outsourced that to his coaches and his teachers, and, he's figured it out. So thank goodness for the village, all right? I wanted to just share today something in reference to marketing, right? And what we're doing. There's a saying in marketing that goes, you can't fix what you don't measure, okay? And I know in network marketing, it is very, it is a tendency for leaders to say, just go talk to people, right? When you don't know what else to tell them to do. Just go talk to people. And unfortunately, if you are operating as a hobby and not as a professional, you don't even know how to even leverage that to your benefit, such that I'm going to talk to 20 people, track that, and then measure how many of those people actually took an interest in what you were saying, and then how many of those people took a look at the video, then how many of those people pre-enrolled, and then how many of those people actually became members. Even if you spoke to more people and you assessed what you were doing, you could literally fix your own challenge. Yes. Because you would know where the glitch was. For example, if you go and you talk to 20 people and nobody is interested, guys, that is not a reason to quit your business. The reason nobody is interested is because of how you're communicating, okay? Communication is very, very, very important. The words that you use, the chronology, and I know it's a lot that goes into it. And if you're new to this, I'm not saying that you have to be a master, but I do need you to be cognizant and need to be aware of what you are saying. Now, here's something that I say to people that I'm talking to, and I ask them not to market this, all right? And it's no knock to what we're doing at LiveGood. It's people don't understand it. And a confused mind says no. So when you go out there and you say things like, earn $2,047 without recruiting, is it true? Yes. But you back yourself into a corner trying to explain something to a person who has already gone left with the idea. So the situation to avoid that type of roadblock is to rephrase how you're saying it, if you just must say that, or you could just choose not to say that. As an example, okay? There's something called Pareto's Law, which is basically that 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your efforts. But if you don't know the areas in which you're directing the efforts, then you don't know what the 20% is that you need to turn up and what the 80% is that isn't working, what you need to turn down. In other words, if it doesn't work, stop it. Okay? But you don't know what's not working. Why? Because you're not measuring it. You are not tracking it. So that's number one. Number two, you must employ and you have to try different things. So if you are in an organization or just you yourself as an individual, just in life, you're like, hey, I'm going to just do Facebook. That's fine if you've mastered Facebook and Facebook is generating results. But if Facebook is not working for you, then you might want to try Twitter and you might want to try Instagram and or YouTube, right? To try a couple of different things. And don't let people convince you that that's not being focused. What you have to do is you have to figure out the lane that you perform the best in. For example, figure out what your strengths are. I know that one of my strengths is speaking. So I prefer platforms that allow me to speak. I avoid platforms where I have to write a lot. Can I write, but I don't like it? It makes me procrastinate. I drag around with it and I never get around to it. If I sit down, I can do it, but I'm going to be much more productive if I go in the direction of my strength. So if you are good with speaking, maybe video, right? Maybe shorts, maybe reels, something like that. If you are good with, writing and and getting people to think a certain way, then maybe Twitter and little short things that allow people to think with a punch. But you've got to try the different things until you figure out the thing that works. Don't let someone tell you that this is the only way to do it. The reason that person is doing so well with that way is because that way they've tapped into their gold mine, and that's why they're exploding. If that's not your gold mine, you have to stick and stay in Live Good long enough to figure out where your sweet spot is. And then number 3, that leads me into this, which is you have to have staying power. Right? You have to have staying power. And that's in anything ultimately that you're doing. They say success is not a destination. It is a journey of innovation and learning. So if you are afraid to fail, that in itself is failure, because you are going against the principle of innovation and learning. Sometimes you will be deceived into thinking that what you're doing is not working, and maybe what you're doing, like the how you're doing it, may not be working, but the way that you approach a problem in terms of finding the solution. In other words, you have to care enough about the desired result, or the result of the result, right? The result might be make money, but the result of the result might be, pay for my children's, private education, whatever that is. So you have to have the staying power to at least be willing to care long enough to go through the loops and holes and pitfalls and backstabs and, arrows in the back that entrepreneurs go through along their journey to figure out what their lane is. And so I feel like if you do those 3 things, which is number 1, track what you're doing, okay? Try enough things, as number 2, try enough things to figure out where you want to work, and then work with that thing long enough till you master it. It won't be until that point in time that you actually get paid as a professional. You will always be paid as an amateur until you have the high value skills where the market will demand that you get paid as a professional. So I hope that added some value to everybody and give you a little jolt, and back over to you, Ben.